We are officially in the 18th, and according to the calendars and according to the world's time clock, you'll actually find that there is actually one particular city place which has now hit the 19th of October. All right, and that place is in Christmas Island. It's 10 minutes past. Right now, as I'm speaking, it's 10 minutes past 12. It's officially Sunday. So, unless we are going to rapture other places and leave the Christmas Island, I mean, like they literally have Christmas. You can't leave them. You can't leave. But if you think about it, Joshua has just made like, if somebody told you that there were like 1 billion% anything, probably lying. If a person said 1 billion% to anything, bruv, just count it as a fail. And I've noted that people remember the 2026 prophecy of the World Cup and the rapture, but they don't remember that he mentioned other things that he said God said were going to happen. For example, he said that life was going to become unbearable after the rapture. So these were other prophecies hidden inside the prophecy of the rapture that Joshua was making, which he then shifted to say, no, maybe the Jews have it wrong. I can't be wrong. The whole world now cycled around this idea. So, okay, no problem. We're going with that. He prophesied the coming of the tribulation. It must be tribulating us. I'm just, lightening the mood. It must be tribulating outside because it seems pretty chilled. The reason why I believe he re-uploaded that post, as I mentioned last time, is because we caught him before he deleted it. First of all, let's establish something. You can no longer say 1 billion% anything. Okay? Yeah, that opportunity has sailed. If you wanted to say 1 billion% to anything, that ship has just sailed. It went whoop. I wanted to remind people of that. These are the prophecies that Joshua made. But those are the prophecies I'll talk about later on. There'll be another episode at 3 o'clock where I'll show you that. But on this particular video, I didn't only just want to show you this particular clock that the Christmas Island is clearly crossed over. I wanted to show you a story that's quite a very interesting one, and it is the story of Jonah. Jonah is given a prophecy to go over to Nineveh, go and tell them to repent, then get yourself out of there. God's business must take place. If they don't, everybody going to hell, everybody burning, everybody going to hell. So the city repents and God doesn't set his judgment. Jonah, in his state of not wanting to accept that God is the ultimate decider, Jonah falls into the state of depression in the sense that he could not accept what God had decided. See? So now you want to be careful setting up anything, because at the end of the day, God has the final word concerning anything that happens. There are certain things, that's why Jesus says it is not for you to sit to think of what things that God has put by his own authority. That's the book of Acts chapter number 1 verse number 7. It's very clear. You get yourself out of the things that God decides by his own power. When he says that, there's an emphasis. Mind your own business, as I've always said before. Get yourself out of there. So before we talk about the other prophecies that Joshua made, I did also notice that the gentleman the guy who sold his car and so forth and all that kind of stuff, he posted something that I thought was quite an interesting one. Said he was repenting, and then he then came back online again and everything. And now if you find his page, I'm trying to remember his name. Salah, what's his name? Talahun made a post, says, and I'll be taking a much needed break from posting, praying we get home. Tararam tatata, he goes on. How many times you gotta make that post, man? It built a lot of kind of like, oh yeah, wow, at least he's repentant, like the earlier point when he came out. But then he came back, and then he was like, yeah, I can change my mind. Yeah, I don't think you can change your mind on saying that you lied. Like, I don't think it works like that. I don't think claiming that a false spirit gave you a message that didn't come to pass, which clearly is not from God, and then you can say, I changed my mind about that. And so, it takes me back to the story of Jonah again. The narrative around that is that God decides what happens. Jonah does not like it. And as a result, Jonah goes into this deep bitterness over God's final outcome out of everything. See, at the end of the day, this center it does not center around you, it does not center around things, it centers around the church. Because there's maybe 100,000 of you guys, or whatever, how many number of you guys are there that believe this thing. Do remember that there's many other Christians, millions of Christians. So 100,000 of you does not even cover the subject. God works on a bigger scale than what you think he needs to fulfill. See, God works in a manner that we have to get ourselves out of the way in order to fully understand him. Like, to understand, like, I like a particular statement that Pastor Zwane, Tlantla Zwane, said on a certain podcast with Muslim Tabel on Let's Talk About It. He said, we always like to say if God is on our side, and the verse says that, but it's actually, it can instill a wrong mindset, because it's not that God is on our side, it's that God got us to his side. See, he didn't come to our side. We went over there. He's not coming on our side, so that, that kind of implies that, he's got to agree with the Mandans over this side. No, that's not how that happened. So you are saying that in a sense of saying, be careful starting to think that God is doing things in favor to you. So it was like, I want to be careful over that, because God is not doing things in favor of you. You are aligning yourself with him. And so this rapture whole thing became about, this one saw this one saw this. This takes away the attention from the bridegroom and the groom. It's the church. It's not one person said this, one person said. We must be very careful to remove ourselves so that we see him. That's why he says he's not a respecter of persons. It's because he gets the glory. It's not you. We're not going to be there clapping hands for you or any of that. Get yourself out of the story. Somebody sent me a video of a woman that was speaking concerning the subject, and she was very arrogant. I was like, yeah, wow. This lady is going at it. She's really trying to prove. Why? Because at the end of the day, we can easily get in the way and become center. Must be very careful of that, because that's the very same lesson that we see from the Mandem, Jonah over there. Jonah fell into that trap where he became center of a message that had nothing to do with him.